Okay, we're gonna try this again. Okay, so let's see. Ariana Shial and Eddard were waiting in the dark alley for the rest of their companions. The city of Kerwall is teeming with Volchester guards, and Eddard has spotted a quill in a shop window that appears to be identical to the one that he carries with him. So, Eddard, Ariana Shial, what are you doing?
I'm getting closer. Ariana said that she was going to follow me, kind of ducking behind in the shadows, staying as least visible as possible. But me, I see the quill, and I can't turn down a good mystery. It's literally my personality trait. So here we go, and I'm going to go and check it out.
I am right behind him.
Okay. I'm assuming you have some kind of hood or something around a shell. You're probably, maybe even both of you have pulled up.
Yeah, we both have cloaks. I bought
it
one
has
in
been raining
actually.
off and on. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's been raining off and on, so it's not like it would be strange or out of place. So you approach this shop. The window where you spotted the quill has kind of that lead lattice work kind of worked into it, where it's got the kind of diamonds, and you can see light flickering from inside. You push the door open, and there's a small tinging of a bell that's mounted just inside the door on a spring. And as you enter, you can smell the aroma of paper and the leather of tomes. You can see that this place is clearly some form of scribe supplies. It all seems to be focused around writing and the storage of knowledge, something that you would be very familiar with, Eddard. And I imagine that these smells alone probably conjure up some kind of feelings within you.
Yes, some very deep feelings. A bit of longing for home and the life he knew before all this kind of went down. But he doesn't let that get to him, and instead he approaches. Does he see the fellow in the shop?
Yes, there is an a dwarf at the back of the shop, kind of huddled over a desk full of papers, an inkwell within reach. He's kind of got his hand, like his forehead down in his hand, and his elbow resting on the desk with what looks like a blanket kind of drawn over his shoulders against the kind of the chill. He's an older dwarf. You can see his hair and his beard and his eyebrows have gone stark white. He doesn't appear to have heard the bell.
Okay, so it doesn't look like he's noticed us yet.
No.
If that's the case, I'm going to go straight to the quill and just have a look-see, see if there's any... I suppose it was just sitting out on a stand?
Yeah, it's definitely on display in the window.
Okay. Yeah, if I get real close to it and I hold mine up next to it, is this the same quill?
Not identical, no. Obviously, yours has familiar markings on it. The pattern on the feather is slightly different, but it appears to have come from the same kind of bird. And it's not a commonplace bird. It may not be exceptionally exotic, but it's not the kind of feather that you see all the time. And more importantly, the tip that has been fitted to the end of this quill, the two of them do look as though they were made the same.
Okay, that definitely piques his curiosity because, as he recalls from his childhood, this is like a one-of-a-kind item as far as his family is concerned, or so he's been told. But yeah, he's just going to examine it and check out all the familiarities. And after that, he would approach the dwarf, trying his best not to startle him. Excuse me, sir, are you open for business?
Mm-hmm. It's just right here on the end of my tongue. Oh, excuse me. I didn't hear you come in.
Oh, no worries.
He kind of immediately takes the blanket off of his shoulders and kind of tries to straighten up the papers. How can I help you?
I was just in town looking to refill my inkwells and get some parchment when I happened upon your shop, so I stopped in.
Good. Yes, ink. We have ink in paper, of course, and just about anything else that you could need for your writing.
Very well. I'll have 20 sheets of parchment, please, and if you could just refill this inkwell.
Of course, yes. He kind of busies himself to task, shuffling around, gathering the things that you have asked for. What brings you to Cornwall?
Just traveling. I'm from north, so just getting about, stretching my legs, and seeing the rest of the kingdom, to be honest.
Sounds like a good time, too. Sounds like there's a little bit of trouble in the north, although truth be told, there's trouble here, too.
Oh, yes? What have you heard?
About what's happening in Cornwall? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I'm not exactly familiar with the town, to be completely honest.
The Baron is lying up there in his deathbed. He is the Baron Regent. He kind of slams the papers down on the desk, almost kind of in disgust. Seems to have already made himself comfortable, even though the poor bastard's not dead.
Oh, Eddard puts on a show. He knows all this, but he's obviously being deceptive. He's acting like this is the first time he's ever heard this.
He said, and trust me when I tell you, war is brewing.
Unsettling. Sounds like the folk among Cornwall don't see kindly to this new Baron Regent.
They're almost all the same, I suppose. They all want power, money, squeeze us for everything we've got most of the time, especially with war on the horizon.
Yes, I certainly understand that.
But those aren't your troubles, traveler. He kind of moves the inkwell filled now, kind of with the paper across the desk to you. And he says, that'll be 8 gold pieces.
Certainly. Eddard goes to his coin pouch and produces 8 gold. Or he actually just gives him 10 gold for his trouble.
He kind of, you see his bushy eyebrows kind of move past you and look in the direction of Ariana Shial. What are you doing?
Oh, she's my traveling companion.
Sorry, that was a meta question. that was not him asking. I was asking Ariana Shial what she was doing.
She is trying to remain. It's not unseen because she's there, but trying to remain unobtrusive, letting Eddard talk to this gentleman. She's also noticed the quill in the window and is waiting for the appropriate time. And I think at this point, when Eddard hands the money to this dwarf, the quill. Where did you get that? Where is it from?
He kind of looks confused for a second and then realizes what you're indicating. And he says, yes, it's a fine specimen, isn't it?
It's all right, I guess, but I'm more curious where you got it from.
Oh, here and there, you come across things when you travel, which I did in my youth.
So you've had it for a while then?
Oh, yes, sometime. Sometime.
It's not
It,
a big seller, apparently.
no, most can't afford it.
Well, maybe you're asking for too much. How much are you asking?
He kind of looks around and he leans across the desk. Well, it's rather expensive because it's not exactly a normal quill.
Pardon me, sir, but I don't believe that money is an object for me. What kind of price are we talking?
Well, it's worth 350 gold pieces.
Oh, good gold, man. No wonder you can't sell the thing. What does it do? Like tricks or something?
It is called a quill of recall. It's magic.
Ugh, a magic pen. Are you kidding me?
No, Ari. Let's hear the man out. A quill of recall.
Aye.
And what exactly does it recall?
That's the thing of it. A quill of recall can rewrite anything that it's ever written before.
Very interesting.
You can see
What,
why
just
something
on
like that would be useful.
just on its own, it'll just stop writing?
No, unfortunately not. He kind of looks at the thing almost with like a pained expression. That's why I'm trying to sell the damn thing. Can't figure out how to get it to do anything.
Well, there's an editor.
Pardon me. OBS just decided it wasn't going to work anymore. So, upon hearing all of this, Eddard would say, "Oh, between you and me," and he kind of leans in close across the desk. I happen to be practicing arcane magic. Might have a look at it.
He kind of leans back and eyes you with some suspicion.
Yes, I know what you've heard. None of it's true. Well, most of it. Most of it untrue.
You one of the ones they're looking for?
The ones they're looking for? What are you talking about, man?
I don't suppose anybody's looking for me. I'm not incredibly hard to find with this flamboyant cloak.
Almost on cue, a patrol passes outside the window. And he kind of raises an eyebrow towards you.
And it just gives him this look like, don't you dare.
No. I want no trouble. Especially from any magic casters. Look, I've been around for a long time. I've been alive longer than magic was made illegal here. I have no ill will towards magic users.
Shop is like a haven.
No, it's not. You can't stay here. Not if you're one of the ones they're looking for.
No,
but
certainly I wouldn't want to cause you any more trouble than you're asking for.
I appreciate it. My son runs a tavern about a day's ride outside of Kerwal. It's called the Muddy Sow. He'd likely take you in.
Very well. I will have to see to it that I pass through. And what's your name? I'd like to mention that you sent me here.
Oscrick.
Oscrick. Very nice to meet you.
Likewise. So, if you're interested in the quill, I'd be glad to get rid of it. But...
Well, I'd love to take it off your hand. I'd love to take it off your hands, but it seems that I've already got one. And he pulls his quill out.
He kind of straightens up. His eyes go wide. No. And he kind of holds his hand out almost instinctively before he kind of catches himself. May I?
Eddard turns to look to Ari. No funny business, eh?
Dwarves have no sense of humor. He kind of like turns the corner of his smile.
Sure. Just... Do you mind if I grab the other one so that we could compare them side by side?
Please do.
Very well.
He kind of takes this from you. He pulls out like a jeweler's lens, like fits it into the crook of his eye socket, and kind of starts studying your quill with like rapt attention. Remarkable. They had to have been made at the same time. Look at them. Look. He kind of produces the tip kind of in your direction to compare.
Yes, they do seem very much the same. Though,
yes.
As a practitioner of magic, I would be lying if I said that I've never noticed that this quill had any magical powers whatsoever. It's a family heirloom.
Family heirloom. Well, there's no doubt. Look. He kind of turns the quill over and instructs you to do the same. And there's a small maker's mark that's been stamped into the metal, kind of on the underside up against where it meets the feather.
Okay, is it like a signature or is it just like a sigil?
Yeah, it's like a sigil.
Okay, what does it look like?
We'll say it's the face of a bear. It's kind of stylized and angular.
Interesting. You know anything about this sigil? Who may have crafted these two quills?
He shakes his head and he says, "It looks dwarven, but it's not anything I recognize."
Very well. I'm not going to cause you any trouble by casting any magics in your shop, but let's just say I'll have a closer look at this quill later. Thank you so much for your information.
And you for yours. And he kind of hands you your quill back.
Am I sure I've got mine?
Yeah, absolutely. He never took the one that was his. He never took both of them in hand at the same time.
Gotcha. He was holding mine and I was holding his.
Correct. Crazy. But yes.
Right, perfect. Well, I'll return to the display where I found his quill and I will put it back up.
And where did you get it? You never did mention where you found this quill.
It was far to the west, far to the east of here. Before you get into the kingdom of Vykaril. At least, it used to be before the borders.
And how long ago?
Some 70, 80 years now.
Interesting.
Well, from one traveler to another. Thank you. I appreciate your honesty.
You better keep your head down. It may not be a good idea for you to remain in Corwall much longer.
Oh, I think we're going to be leaving quite soon.
Good luck.
Farewell. Eddard turns. He takes his supplies, leaves the gold on the table, and grabs his quill and about face heads towards the door.
Okay. The two of you exit back out into the streets of Kerwall. And head back to the alleyway. Inside the castle, Volchester guards patrol on high alert here. Though one of you is currently invisible, Dane, you are not. And you find yourself walking in step behind the somewhat shallow gate of an elderly knight. The mentor of your mentor, Sir Owen. He comes to a T-junction within the bowels of the keep, and he holds his hand out to stop you as he kind of peers forward around the corner. You see a maid pass with what looks like dirty linens. And once she passes, and he's sure that it's clear, he then turns to you. Hurry. Stay close, child. Stay close. And he rounds the corner.
So yeah, I'll fall. I'll fall and step behind him, trying to keep my face behind his back so that anyone who's oncoming wouldn't see that. And not the perhaps the best actor in the world, but Dane, with the slower gait of this knight, will maybe like drag his right foot so that he doesn't appear as a young, spry, barrel rolling squire.
And what do we not see Sir John doing?
So John is following behind, sort of in a line. So Sir Owen is in the lead and Dane is in the middle and Sir John is in the back. And one would think this is an opportunity for Sir John to be sort of reflecting on this lineage that is standing in front of him. But he keeps instead playing out 3 steps down to the left, 10 steps down to the right, 3 steps up the flight of stairs. And he's just sort of mechanically planning ahead the path to his father's room.
Though you know the way you let Sir Owen lead Dane and yourself through whatever path it is that he's deemed necessary, trying to avoid attention as best as possible. The going is slow, and not only because of Sir Owen's gait, but also because there's just so many Volchester's men here in the castle. It absolutely looks like they are beginning to prepare for, like, to repel an invasion, at least on a small scale. And you've had to kind of go through servants' quarters, some of the back staircases, things of that nature. But eventually, you know that there's only one way you can go. You have to enter the wing of the royal chambers, the royal estates, in order to reach the Baron's private chambers. You've waited for a long moment outside of these doors because there is heavy traffic here. Sir Owen seems hesitant about going forward. It's been a long enough moment that I would imagine the two of you are starting to grow very antsy.
Yeah, I think as soon as there's been longer than like a tactical pause, I think Sir John is going to move through the door, like filing in with somebody or whatever, so that he can go scout out what's in this room and how to best get the two of them through.
Okay. So you're going to need to make a stealth roll.
Mm-hmm.
Does your armor impose disadvantage on stealth rolls?
It's chainmail. Let me see here.
I think that does. It's heavy.
I
think chainmail is heavy.
I'm looking it up now. Disadvantage on stealth, yeah.
Okay. So, though you are invisible, the noise that the chinking rings of your armor make with pretty much every step are going to be difficult to pass so close to guards here at these doors.
Mm-hmm.
So,
though, I would have worn my armor. I'm going to a place where I'm expecting a fight of some kind. So yeah, I would have worn my armor. Okay, so I roll stealth at disadvantage.
yes.
All right. Well, do I get a bonus from invisibility, or are you going to factor that in on your own, or what?
Yeah, it'll be factored in on my end.
Okay. Well, I got a 9.
Is that the total?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way I handled this was I rolled with disadvantage for them on their perception, and the second die was a 1. So as you are creeping forward, just at that moment, there is another maid who is exiting the wing with a tray full of an uneaten supper. You recognize that this would have been your mother's tray.
Mm-hmm.
And she slips and spills the tray forward, and the contents in the metal, the silver eatery just goes clattering everywhere on the stone floor. And at that moment, you kind of duck through the open doorway. And the guards seem to have not heard you at all.
Okay. What do I see through this doorway? Anything that might be could cause a distraction? People or objects or something like that?
So the hallway is fitted with the tapestries of your family's history. As of now, the colors of your house still stand here. It seems Volchester at least has had that much couth. Mm-hmm. And there are people, but there's one or two of them that are milling about. But you do see a figure sitting off to one side behind one of the pillars, like leaning against it.
Oh, I do I?
You do.
Is this figure maybe a little androgynous, long blonde hair?
No, quite the opposite. This figure is very masculine.
Okay.
Very large, dressed in dark armor, and with blonde hair that is closely cropped to his head.
Okay. There are torches along the wall, right?
Braziers.
Braziers,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, they're not on the wall, they're on the floor.
On the floor, okay. We would have talked about the limits of this invisibility beforehand. So is it like, I know if I make an attack against something, it gets canceled out. If can I touch things? Can I be kind of a doppelganger or a poltergeist?
Anything that you take into your possession becomes invisible.
Okay.
And anything that leaves your possession becomes visible once again.
Okay, so like I put my hand on a table and it becomes invisible or something like that?
Yeah, with a table, it's kind of a tricky call, but
Okay.
it's like if you were to remove a torch from the sconce, like the torch itself would become invisible, though the light that it gives off would not.
Yeah, okay. I think what I want to do is grab like a big spoon or something. I want to grab like something that I can use as a scoop. Say like I don't know. There's maybe a suit of armor or something that's got a dagger. Or maybe I've got a dagger. I've got a dagger. I pull out my dagger. And I'm
Okay.
going to gently like lift one of the coals out of the brazier. And then I'm going to hold it up against a tapestry that I've always just hated. It's always just looked really out of place in this hallway. And it's a moment in our family's history that I think is really boring and stupid. And so I'm taking this coal and I'm going to light the tapestry on fire.
Okay. So you hold this coal close to the corner of this kind of threadbare tapestry, and it goes up like kindling.
Yeah.
And as it kind of sparks too, and it starts to spread, the figure that was leaning against the pillar kind of leaps up to its feet from the stool it was sitting on and steps into full view. And you see that it is none other than Sir Gerhard Volchester. He marches forward towards the tapestry with a furrowed brow and watches it burn for a moment before reaching above his head's height and gathering the tapestry as best he can in his gauntleted fist and just tearing it down from the wall. He walks over to a brazier and kind of calmly like drapes and folds it down so that the entire thing falls into the brazier. And he starts looking around the room.
My hope was that pretty much as soon as it caught fire, I was going to move back toward the door. And ideally, it would have made a distraction that had like drawn people's attention, made people stop going through the door for a little bit, maybe even brought the guards over. It doesn't seem like that was the case. So the guards are still at the door.
They are still outside. It doesn't appear like he's raised any kind of alarm as of yet, at least.
Okay. Well, Dane and Sir Owen definitely saw this, or I guess they wouldn't have. They were probably couldn't see through the door.
I would imagine they probably could.
Okay.
At
Yes.
least a portion of this.
Yeah. So if people stop, well, yeah.
There's quite a commotion outside the door with people trying to get this mess cleaned up. And the guards certainly are not paying full attention to their station at the moment. But after a bit, after this tapestry is good and burning in this brazier, Volchester will call out, "Guards!" And the two men outside will peel off away from the door and step inside.
Okay. I think as soon as they move past Sir John, who's sort of like pressed up against the wall, he's going to whisper through the door, or actually come out and like touch Dane on the shoulder.
Okay. So Dane, you've been watching this maid come out and spill this stuff all over the floor. You and Owen are still kind of waiting for your moment, whatever the old man's moment's going to be. And you see Volchester walk past the open door. And when he returns, he's carrying a burning Leitnor tapestry in his hand. After another several beats of silence, he calls for the guards, and they disappear into the wing through the door. in moments after that, as Sir Owen is trying to steal his nerve, he's about to like motion you forward, and you feel a tap on your shoulder.
So I'll try and turn towards the tap, and if it's not like yanking me or anything, I'll just Sir John.
Sir John is going to tug on the fabric of Dane's shoulder and start to draw him through the door.
All right, yeah. So I lower my head, so I'm sort of looking at like feet and shins, and then I'll move through that door.
And I think there's a moment when you like start to step through the door, and then you feel Sir John's open hand like on your chest, and you just kind of run into it, and it's like running into a wall, and then it grabs you and it pulls you again. I had to wait for the guards to change. Look the other way, of course.
Of course.
Sir Owen is kind of right behind you, Dane. What are you going? What are you doing?
So like I will turn back and look at him and kind of like point.
He seems to kind of catch on and fall quiet, but falls into step behind you, hurrying through the door. The three of you enter the wing of the royal chambers, where Volchester is standing near this burning brazier. It's burning very high at the moment, kind of underlighting his face in this kind of sinister way. It didn't set fire to itself. I'm telling you. They're friends of witches. They're using magic. I guarantee it. Find a way to detect it. Now, go. The two guards leave his company. I need a stealth roll from Dane, please. Okay. Dane, especially with the help of Sir John, you are able to basically move from like pillar to pillar and stay out of line of sight from Sir Volchester. However, Sir Owen is not as lucky. Volchester looks up just as Sir Owen is crossing between two pillars. Where are you going, old man? He kind of freezes. Just to see the Baron. He kind of straightens up. What are you skulking about in the dark? What are you up to? He strides across the room in his direction.
I think Sir John is going to sort of push Sir Owen or nudge him a little closer in the direction of Sir Volchester. And then he's going to grab Dane around the shoulder and sort of like push him along further.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, the two of you kind of scuttle along quickly, ducking through another doorway that leads towards your father's bedchambers. And as you do so, you hear the exchange that's beginning between these two men. Colchester certainly taking his typical brutish approach at dealing with others. And soon it's behind you. You continue onward, and eventually you are outside the door to your father's bedroom.
Pardon me.
What would you like to do?
I think Sir John is going to talk for the first time. Dane, are you ready?
So when he says that, Dane sort of slouches a little bit more and then very like servantly knocks on the door. I've come with dessert for him. Is dessert is acceptable? And then I'll start to push the door open or pull it, whatever the appropriate case is.
Yeah, there is no answer, but you reach out and push the door open after you've thrown the thumb latch and have opened the door. And there's a second door that opens down the hallway. And as Dane is kind of pushing the door open and entering your father's room, Sir John, you look towards this secondary door that has opened, and you see your mother kind of in her night shift, kind of gathered up, looking out the door down the hall in your direction.
I think there's nobody else in the hallway.
No.
Yeah, I think that's the moment when I'm going to dispel the invisibility. When she would be looking right at me, and I'm going to hold out my hand and beckon her to come.
She kind of lights up whenever she sees you, first in kind of joy and excitement, and then in like a dawning realization of terror and concern. And she does shuffle towards you. She says, "Jonathan, what are you doing here? You should not be here."
We've come to save Father.
How?
Come inside. Come inside.
Of course, yes. She follows you into the Baron's room and very quickly turns around and shuts the door and produces a key and locks it. She turns around and she sees that it's not just you. And she quickly tries to pull her knight, like her, almost like a robe over her shift, kind of closed. "Oh, forgive me. I did not know that you were with your squire."
Yes, we are here, as I said, to rescue Father. Sir John is super distracted. Like, he's glad to have his mom here to give him a little bit of support, but he can't not look away from his dad's bed. Has his condition worsened?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. He is gaunt. His cheeks are sunken in to the point where you can see the gap between his upper and lower set of teeth whenever he's breathing. His eye sockets are dark. His hair is shot full with a lot more gray than even the last time that you saw him. And his breathing is raspy, almost a rattle in his chest whenever he breathes in and out. And you can see the black veining beneath the surface of his skin almost everywhere that you can see skin. Your mother sees you eyeing his bed, and she says, "Whatever you have come to do, son, do it now. I fear that he is already on borrowed time."
Sir John is sort of kneeling next to his father's bed at this point. He's been able to come close, but he hasn't been able to touch his father. It's too disturbing for him. And he is holding the tomb thistle concoction in one hand here. And he says, "Mother, you know that I would do anything in my power for the good of the barony."
Of course, yes.
And Dane, you know that when things are uncertain, if we do not act,
Jonathan, what are you
we
playing at?
die.
Sorry, mine froze on you.
Oh, I said, I looked over at Dane and I said, "And Dane, you know that when a crisis hits, the only thing to do is to act and to reckon afterward, whatever consequences may come."
Jonathan, what are you playing at?
So perhaps less talking, more acting.
Well, that coming from Dane, Sir John immediately unstoppers the concoction and tilts it back into his father's mouth.
You pour this tincture down the throat of the Baron of Kurwal. The last drop of this vial kind of clinging to the rim, almost tantalizing, torturing, before it finally drips past his lips. And you sit back and watch. By the light of the candles and braziers that have been brought close to his bed, you watch as his chest falls and rises slowly and then grows still. You watch as the black veining slowly begins to retreat. Did you hear?
Sir John immediately follows up with a gasp of his own.
The Baron breathes deeply, his eyes clamping tightly shut as he rises, his back kind of arching out of the bed with each of these labored breaths. And then he grows still again, and his breathing begins to level out. And finally, with your mother standing right behind you, your father opens his eyes. Bloodshot, heavy-lidded. He blinks several times, looking up at the ceiling, before he, with concerted effort, turns his head towards you, and his eyes come to rest on your face. At first, there's the familiar scowl that you've seen so many times from Sir Nicholas Lightnor. And then his eyes and his expression soften a little. He swallows hard and says, What happened?
Sir John is dumbstruck, and all he can do is look to his mom and just plead with his eyes. Many things. I do not have the familiarity to tell you, Father.
Your mother has immediately swooped around to the other side of the bed and has taken up a bowl and cloth, where she is now dampening this cloth and wringing it out, and is starting to mop his brow. And she's just kind of quietly shushing him. Shh, dear, it's just relax. Just relax. You've been in a bad way for some time now. Everything's going to be just fine. Jonathan saved you. Jonathan saved you. He's kind of looking confused, and his eyes are almost like darting back and forth, like he's trying to work things out, trying to piece things together. Volchester. He tries to start to sit up. Where's Volchester?
He reigns in your stead, Father.
He reaches out as he's kind of like trying to get out of bed. He has swung his legs over the edge of the bed, despite the pleas of your mother. And he starts to try to stand, and it's very obvious that he cannot. And instead, he has fallen sideways and placed his hand on your shoulder and is leaning full weight on you.
Sir John doesn't know if he's more rattled by the sudden contact between the two of them or the diminished weight of his father, but he sort of, holds the hand and sort of helps, like pushes his father by the shoulder back into an upright position, and sort of is like hesitant to withdraw his hands, but his mom comes over and starts doing the actual soothing touch around his shoulders and like fussing over his clothes or whatever. And so Sir John sort of retreats, and he says, Father, you are not well, not yet. Though I am glad to see you are headed there. But something must be done about Sir Volchester.
Not you. Not you, boy. Not you.
I am ready, Father.
He weakly reaches back and weakly backhands you across the face. You lead not with your head, as you always have. Volchester is a killer, boy. He will lay you down. And then what? Then what of our house? What of our line? Then what?
Father, everything I have done these past fortnights and months and years has pointed myself toward making something more of our family. I am a killer too. And Sir Volchester will learn that, if you will give me your blessing.
Our family teeters on the edge of a knife, John. We have since before you were born. House Mellowayne allows us to serve them in our current station. You seek to improve, but you carry us towards disaster. Volchester is the champion of the champion of House Mellowayne. If he's been placed in charge of Corwall, it was a military decision on Mellowayne's part. Even if you manage to defeat the Black Bull Knight in combat, you will destroy our standing within House Mellowayne. Do you understand me?
We will reclaim our standing within House Mellowayne. De Volchester does not deserve the title of chief enforcer of that house. We deserve it. And we can take it.
You believe yourself ready to lead this house?
In battle, yes.
He holds his hand out to you. Help me stand.
I give him like a bro hand clasp first, right? And try to pull him up that way, but it's not working, so I have to like actually get in there and like wrap my arm around his torso and kind of haul him out of bed.
It's definitely not a graceful maneuver, but you help him to his feet. Again, your mother is protesting, and he's dismissively kind of waving towards her. He turns and, with your help, kind of ushers you across the room to the fireplace. Hanging on the wall above the fireplace is the Lightenor family sword. This weapon is something that you are very familiar with. It's been in your family for generations. It is known as the Talon of Foresight. He reaches a withered, bony hand up and grabs the sword by its scabbard just outside of its crosspiece and raises it off of where it is hanging, bringing it down to the point where the scabbard's tip clangs against the stone floor.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yes.
Just as he's doing that, I'd like to sort of step back away from everybody and gently release that sort of golden light that'll climb through the floor cracks over to his father and just heal him. Wow, six hit points. But I want it to happen like in the moment that he's sort of pulling that sword, like so that it's coming from the sword, not from me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You do so, and Sir John, you watch as your father places another bony hand on the hilt of this sword. And as he draws it, this golden light kind of seems to sheathe the blade and wash over your father as he straightens up and kind of rolls his shoulders back out of a stooped position. He says, "You know this sword, John."
The Talon, yes.
This sword belongs in the hands of the one who leads House Lightenor.
It is in good hands, Father.
I no longer believe that to be true. I do not understand your journey, son. But I can see the direction you are headed. The direction that you will lead House Lightenor. He turns the sword over in his hands and presents it pommel first towards you.
Sir John is kneeling again at this point. He's sort of, as soon as the sword was taken off the wall, he knelt in respect to it. And he's looking at the hilt of this sword held out in front of him, and he's recalling steel of a conquered enemy turned ally, wood given freely by a wounded friend. This whole poem of the sword that must be reforged. And then he thinks about this hilt in front of him, and he thinks about the opposite end of this sword, almost touching his father's arm, the point, the strong and decisive lead of the sword. And he says, "Father, I braved many dangers to bring you back into lordship.
I will remain Baron of Cornwall until my passing. Thus far, you have been my heir by birthright. Now, you are my heir by my choice. Take the sword. Continue your quest. Bring our house honor."
Sir John reaches up and touches the hilt of the sword and wraps his grip around it and then draws it from the scabbard immediately and holds the naked edge in front of him. "Father, I will serve you with everything in me for the glory of House Lightenor."
Our house, our kingdom is in trouble, John. There is war coming with the Lathelbrins, and I fear it is too late to stop it. Uphold the code you took whenever you first bent the knee.
"I will, Father."
Then rise, bearer of the Talon of Foresight.
When Sir John rises, it's like he's lifting hundreds of pounds. He's really straining to stand up straight, but when he does, he takes the scabbard from his father, sheathes the sword, holds it down at his side, and he looks over at Dane and he says, "And now, Sir Volchester."
We should try and get your father, somewhere. He's not going to fight you fair. And then Dane will sort of look to your father. I don't mean to speak poorly of the other knights, sir. Just with all the happenings, I don't think he'd fight fairly. Is there somewhere that... And Dane sort of looks to the floor. Is there somewhere that you could hide?
I will not hide in my own home.
I didn't think so.
Am the Baron of Cornwall. He will not harm me here.
Not again, at least.
It was not his doing. It was the Lathelbrins, though I cannot prove it.
when we get through this conflict this evening, I might be able to help you with that. We have a spy, but that's for later. So, John, how do you wish to do this? I know what you're thinking, and if you want to walk out there and have me announce you and ask for a duel, then let's do it.
But we shall need to capture the heart of the people as well. We must sneak back outside the castle, somehow. Draw Sir Volchester out and defeat him under a clear blue sky.
It's nighttime.
Stars will serve just as well.
So you exit the chamber of your father, and you head backwards, making your way back through the keep. You step back into the chamber that had the brazier where one of your family's tapestries was burning. And you see the armored boots of someone lied out on the floor. And that is where we're going to take our break. So, 5-10 minutes. Smoke 'em if you got them. Go refill your drink. Go to the bathroom. Kiss your spouse, etc., etc. Thank you very, very much. If you are tuning in this evening, sorry for all the technical hiccups in the beginning. Thank you very much if you're tuning in the future. And stick around. We will be right back. have returned. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. God, that was hopeful thinking. Wonderful Monday. And
I kind of hate you for that right now.
yeah, you're welcome.
Big same.
You're welcome. Yeah, well, fuck you.
Mm.
Sorry about the occasional blinding glare I have for my fantastic setup.
It's just your brilliance.
No.
He blinded me with science.
Just routinely casting blind.
For anybody who is interested, I have my next help action tomorrow night. I have my guest Jaren with Power Up Gamers coming on to discuss accessibility in gaming. So very much looking forward to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I read a really cool article not too long ago about creating PDF and game documents that are like friendly for dyslexic people.
Oh wow.
It was pretty great.
I guess
was
maybe
like-
you have to like have a code or something that would help rearrange.
Well, it wasn't necessarily about like changing what people see. It was just about like the best practices for organizing the information. Like, for example, larger fonts are better for dyslexic folks, and there are certain fonts. I don't remember if it's serif or sans serif, but one of those is better for those folks. And like breaking up the text with lots of images or with really clear headers or something like that is helpful too. It was sort of just like a layout tutorial. It was really interesting.
Okay. That's cool. That's nice.
They just had that article too, where they most of the D&D books, at least the core ones, have been recorded and then broken up into a searchable chapter, and now it's being posted by Library of Congress so that you can access D&D material if you're blind.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Fucking they say it's 2019, but we're living in 2050, I swear.
I can barely hear you, Baron.
I said they say it's 2019, but we're clearly living in 2050, I swear.
In some aspects.
Yeah, I was gonna say some regards.
Right. It's a mix of 2050 and 1950.
Yeah, 1850. Yeah. Okay. It sounds like everybody is back. So if you are all ready, we can get back in this. Okay. Dane and Sir John, you have exited the bedchambers of the Baron, leaving both the Baron and the Baroness behind. You've re-entered the antechamber, if you will, where the tapestry had been set alight. You spotted a pair of feet in their armored boots, kind of sticking out from behind a pillar, but you could tell that the person was laid supine out on the floor. What do you want to do?
I think sort of in sync, Sir John and Dane creep over in that way. Sir John kind of leading the way and gesturing, for Dane to follow behind. But I think, whereas before we've seen a lot of missed moments with them, I think this is one moment of harmony. What do you think, Dane?
I would agree. I think as we start to move, like you would see, like there's this almost like a reflection of what just happened in the room with your father. Like Dane knows what you're about to see, and so he sort of tries to reach for your back to maybe try and slow you, like that sort of like you don't want to see this, and then that arm just sort of falls as you get like an inch beyond where he can reach, and then he just very silently sort of slides down the hallway with you.
So who is this dude?
So you round the pillar, and you see the figure of Sir Owen seated along the ground with his back propped up against this pillar. His sword is in his hand, though his arm has a severe wound to it. You could tell he probably can't even lift this blade any longer. But the blade is not clean. It has drawn blood. And he has been run through. There's a deep sucking puncture wound, basically right through the sternum of his chest. Thin red blood and bubbles form at the corners of his mouth and stain the white of his beard below his chin. His eyes are already starting to kind of gloss over as you round the corner, and he looks up at you. Sir John, it is done.
He is recovering.
Good. He seems visibly relieved.
Sire, what happened here?
Sir Volchester, this younger man and I, my skills, not what they used to be, I am afraid. He kind of winces.
Sir John looks up at Dane. Do you have a
Sir Owen,
bandage?
I can heal you. But if I do, I may not be able to heal Sir John later.
He shakes his head as vehemently as he can manage. Do not waste your skills, boy. I have lived a long life, and I prefer to die in the service of this house.
I'm going to pull his wounded arm very gently so that it's in his lap with his sword still in his dominant hand but laid across his lap also.
You can tell that the movement
hurts a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know you very long, but you're the type of knight that they write about. And for what it's worth, a lot of that rubbed off on him.
You do know me then. If you know him, I am certain you know me. Follow in his footsteps, young squire. One day, you too will carry the title of knight of House Lightenor, perhaps.
Rest now, Sir Knight, but we have to go.
He nods. with his non-sword hand, he reaches up and grabs you about the gorget, John, at your neck, pulling you down closer to him. Jonathan, do not attempt to avenge me. Stay alive, John. Stay alive.
So Volchester is doomed. Sir John grabs Sir Owen by the arms, like just underneath his armpits, and he's holding him and looking at him deep into his eyes, and he says, I carry your teachings forward for the glory of House Lightenor. You have lived by an oath, and now, by an oath, rest.
Do not let your youth be your undoing, John.
With your cunning carried on in me, how could I?
Be strong. He exhales one last time, and his chin falls to his chest, and his head rolls to the side.
Sir John is going to immediately move to lay him out on the ground with dignity, putting his sword on his torso and crossing his hands over the hilt. And he's going to stand and, without taking his eyes away from the remains of his teacher, he's going to say, may I be such a fitting knight to my squire one day, and may I prove it with my deeds. Now come, Dane. We must meet up with the others.
Dane, as you and Sir John move to leave the keep of Kerwal, would you please describe a moment where you see the man that you chose to follow once again? Where you see what drew you first to Sir John?
So I think as we're leaving and sort of skulking out of the castle, perhaps using servant hallways and some of the less traversed means, I think the way that Kerwal was built with a wall inside of a wall of its own castle, that some of the older tapestries, much like the one that was lit aflame, adorn these walls, and they're glorified tapestries. They show scenes of House Lightnor's history, but they've been intermingled with fairy tales and old tales, perhaps even of predecessors of Mathuran Gabrain. And there's a moment that Sir John stops, and his hand familiar on Dane's chest keep him from sliding into view of a doorway, that he is matched up to this tapestry, and in that sort of craning motion, he's taken the figure of this knight on a tapestry, and this knight is reaching for a handkerchief from this lady at a fair, and it has almost that kingly or deific sort of glow behind the head of both this woman and this knight, and that tapestry flutters in a bit of a breeze, and that motion sets to light the memory that Dane has of meeting Sir John with that woman who had been slapped down to the mud. So what seems so long ago, and how he helped her up, and there is this undeniable air of confidence around Sir John at the moment, whether it's true confidence or desire to see something done. It's still that man who stood for something, that had a desire to be better, to do better. It's not the braggadocious, I'm going to invent my own sword fighting technique. It's not the long-winded history lessons when 2 words would suffice. It's a knight on a quest. And there's a comfort in that hand on his chest. There's a comfort in knowing that the point of the sword goes first. And I think in that moment, Sir John looks down and sees Dane and gives him the nod to go. But Dane hears a set of footsteps come down the hallway, so he traps his hand, Sir John's hand on his chest, and he leans back. And that's the hand that holds the sword that pulls it back when it's not time to be thrust forward. And we see that shape in the hallway slide past. And then we'll sort of round the corner and head out.
Well done. Eli and Steve, both of you, please take a point of inspiration. The other 3, Eddard, Ariana Shial, Tord. What is the moment like when the 3 of you have finally met back up again in this dark alley of Kerwell?
I think shortly after they're getting ready to leave the store, there are 2 hulking men kind of like trying to be stealthy in an attempt to cross the street. And I don't even see them. I'm too focused on my keen survival instincts here to get us to this alleyway.
There's probably a moment where Eddard confuses them for guards, and he kind of like puts a hand back out to Ari. Hold on. And then he takes a closer look, and as you guys get closer, he's able to draw 2 and 2 together. He says, well, never mind.
Come on, you big oaf. Into the alley.
He stumbles after you, muttering under his breath about how thirsty he is.
Tord. For a moment, I thought I'd never see your handsome mug again. Good to see you, old friend.
Did anybody follow you? Did they find you? You didn't lead them here, did you?
I've been stealthier than a wolf on the hunt. I would say cocky and assured. Got this doofus here, didn't I?
Aye, but who noticed you? That is the thing. It's not like you're tiny.
No, but I also didn't walk into any shops.
Well, that would be a very good thing, because if you'd walked into a shop, I'm sure you would have broken things. And then that would have set the guards everywhere.
No, but it's only a matter of time with how much you like to talk.
She'd roll her eyes and just walk into the alley. There's no pleasing some.
I like to imagine as they're like bickering about and walking away, Eddard's like, well, there was a perfectly good reason for me to go in that shop.
Heathbane looks at Eddard. Are they together?
Might as well be, yeah?
Sounds like it. You got a drink?
Eddard tosses him a full wineskin.
He takes it and thirstily drinks from it.
It's actually honey mead from Barnaby's.
He looks impressed. That's pretty good swill.
From an old friend.
Obliged. So, how about letting me go? I tried with this one. He's stubborner than a mule. The two of you seem much more reasonable.
Perhaps, but gotta admit, it is only fair that you face your judgment.
You too. Judgment.
Yes, me too.
Eddard, quit talking to him. Nothing good can come from it. Teaching you bad manners and shit.
That's what I've got us said already, bud.
All right, well, be careful.
No harm could come from a little conversation.
Now that is where you're wrong. Lots of harm could come from conversation.
Perhaps I've been wrong before.
And you, and she turns to the ward. You aren't going anywhere. So why don't you just shut your trap and just hunker down here and be a good little boy?
I mean, I gave him a whole wineskin.
He looks at you, Ari. And he says, "You got an awfully bad attitude for someone who doesn't even belong here. Elf."
And maybe that's why I've got a very bad attitude. People like you and him.
You see the expression on his face kind of shift as he kind of looks past you. And very quickly, he puts his forefinger and his thumb up into the corners of his mouth and lets out a very high-pitched whistle. And as he does so, if you look back behind you, Ari, you see a patrol of Volchester guards walking past the end of the alley who have now stopped and are turned halfway, looking down the alley in your direction. Oi! They're over here.
Well, this certainly won't end up good for you.
He turns to the rest of you with kind of a smirk. The guards start making their way towards you. What would you like to do?
Well, you guys can sort this out for yourselves later, but I'm gonna draw my sword and I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah, when I hear Tord draw his swords, Eddard instinctively puts his hand on Servord's back and begins to cast Hold Person.
Yes.
Okay. What does hold person require?
I think it's VSM. Let me check 1 second. Yeah, verbal somatic material. But I have my spell casting focus. It's a Wisdom 15 saving throw.
Wisdom 15.
Yes.
Ooh. He got a dirty 20 total.
God damn it.
So you reach out and place your hand upon his back, and as you're muttering this spell, he very quickly like turns and brings his bound wrists kind of down on your forearm hard. And as he does so, your hand kind of, shoots towards the dirt, as it were, and the spell just completely misses. Let's roll. Oh, wait. We have initiatives. So we will go into initiative order. First up, we have Ariana Shial.
Question. Since I kind of just drew my sword and attacked him, would that qualify for an ambush round?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I was just trying to give you the assist there.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and make your attack, Vord, or Tord. That's really confusing.
I rolled total 21.
That absolutely hits him.
One second. Kind of want to smite his ass. Which is a come on. I'm gonna expend 2 extra D8 to just really stick it to him.
Okay.
Oh dear. A total of 26 plus 3. 26 plus 3. 29. 29 damage.
Wow. Okay. He was already still injured from the road fight that you guys had. So what does it look like as you kill this man?
It's really nothing spectacular, and I think only the radiant heat that comes out of just the draw and resheathing of my sword as I kind of like find the gap underneath, like near his waist, where his mail kind of separates from his like girdle or whatever, and I find that crease and force my blade upward into his body, his rib cage, and kind of draw it back out, eviscerating him in some way and kind of letting him drop.
Yeah, he has reached his bound hands down and grabbed a hold of your wrist that holds your sword, and seems surprised at the speed and the ferocity that you've attacked him with. Shock and dismay plays out over his weathered, scarred face, and he fucking bastard. And he just falls over into the street of the alley.
Judgment passed, and I'll spit on him. We need to run now.
The guards are calling for more as they are now starting to run towards you. Stop there! You, stop! Ariana Shial.
How many guards are in front of us right now? See.
You see 3 of them headed towards you currently, but there are others that are coming to the opening at the end of the alley, having heard them shout.
All right. Ari is going to. Sorry, I'm just looking it up here. How Ari's going to start casting a spell. You've never heard her say this one before. She says some strange words in Elven. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the alley where the guards are appearing, but we're not in it, she's creating this darkness starts to just kind of obliterate that entire section. So that end of the alley is in a darkness spell. And at that point, she's going to grab Eddard and Tord and book it so we can get out while they're not seeing where we go.
Okay, so the intention is to catch the forward-most guards that are approaching.
Yeah, have them right in the middle of the darkness. It's a 15-foot radius circle, so 30-foot diameter, with them quite entrenched right in the middle, but enough so that that end of the alley is all completely encased. So anybody coming into it will run into this darkness.
Okay. So you cast this magic, and the alley was already fairly dimly lit as it was. Not only the kind of overcast, stormy night, but also just there's not a lot of traffic here. This is definitely kind of a seedy part of this town. But the shadows on that end kind of reach out and grow beyond their normal bounds and kind of weave together, casting all visibility aside from that end of the alley. And you hear the guards shouting in surprise, "Black magic! Black magic! Sound the alarm! Sound the alarm!" You hear some of their footprints that are definitely giving chase. Their footfalls that are definitely giving chase. But you are already turning in, running, I assume the opposite direction.
Yes, opposite direction, and quickly into whatever, like not a straight line either. So like dash as as soon as there's a way, dash that way, and then like turn left, go right, turn left, so that there's some sort of, we can easily get away without them knowing exactly where we've gone.
Okay. So Ariana Shial starts cutting this kind of snaking path in and out of these buildings, kind of narrow spaces between them, maybe even passing through one or two of these like smaller shops, these little hovels. Eddard, what are you doing?
Is there a clear opening out where there wouldn't be guards coming from? I know there are the 2 entrances, the one where the guards just had darkness cast on them, and then the other end of the alleyway where Tord and them came in. But is there any other like escape route, or is that the only way out, really?
No, like I said, Ariana Shial has started kind of trying to usher or lead you guys down some of these narrow offshoots from this alleyway. There's definitely more than one way out of here.
Oh yeah, if that's the case, I'm on her tail. I'm right behind her.
Okay, so you're just gonna run with her.
Yeah, I'm just gonna use my movement.
Okay, excellent. So you turn and follow with haste. Tord, it's your turn next.
I'm also mimicking the snaking pattern using my movement to follow.
Okay.
Do I notice like any sort of like I hate to say it, like sewer system or place that would get us off street level? Could we climb up onto buildings, or are they like thatch?
There's a large part of the buildings in this area of town that have thatched roofs. Because again, this is not a great, it's not a great part of town.
Right.
Um, Sewers, you know that there's probably a way to access them, but without knowing the layout of the city, it's it would be difficult to find, especially when pressed for time like this.
Right. I think I'm gonna use my action to dash, kind of keeping up with them as we go.
Okay. You flee from this alley, and the dead Sir Vort Heathbane. The Volchester guards continue to run here and there, most of them heading towards the direction that you came. Evading them to the best of your abilities. Where are the three of you heading?
We should find a stable, somewhere to hide.
I imagine you saw a lot of the city earlier. Any place you recommend?
Can I roll something for that, Jeremy?
Whenever we first joined Sir Tor this evening, with Sir Vord in tow, you were at a stable. You were just behind one.
Well, I'd seen one earlier when I was with scum. Perhaps we could go back. We were hidden there.
I lead the way.
So kind of utilizing that dash, how I had said I was keeping up with them. Maybe that's me overtaking them and starting to lead the way towards that direction.
The three of you make haste back towards this stable. And as you do so, you find the doors to the stable open. And as you move towards it, you can hear voices inside.
There wasn't people here last time.
Well, now there are. What are they saying?
Is anybody trying to get close enough to listen?
Yeah, I will. I don't see another place to go, honestly. I'll get up in there and see what they're talking about.
Okay. Go ahead and roll a stealth check for me, please.
While he's doing that, is there like any shadows or it's dark. There should be that I'll try to hide in while he's doing that.
Okay. Also, give me a stealth roll, please.
28.
Did you say 28?
Yeah, it was a natural 20.
All right.
And 25 for me.
So as Dane and Ariana Shial leave the plane of existence, right in front of your eyes, Tord, pretty much, Dane, you slink forward and are able to get close enough to the stable doors to kind of press your ear to them or whatnot and listen. And you can hear Eddard. I'm sorry, not Dane. You can hear the voice of what sounds like two Volchester guards talking to what you can only assume is the stable boy. You sure you haven't seen anyone? Big big son of a bitch. About, he kind of gestures with his hand, indicating some kind of height. This tall. Would have had another man with him, we think. Also big. The boy kind of stammers. No, sir. No, I've been here shoveling shit all night. I haven't seen no one. You're the first souls I've seen. You reckon he's lying? One of them kind of leans to the other. Well, I don't think he put up much of a fight. If we can't find somebody else to kill tonight, maybe we'll come back. One of them kind of pushes the stable boy down to some discarded hay off to the side. And the two of them turn and begin to approach the doors.
Once they pass and are no longer in like range for them to be able to see us, really, I'll probably try and slip in and see what's going on with this stable boy.
You slip in just by yourself?
Yeah, unless Ari's coming with me.
Okay. You slide into the stables, and this boy is kind of standing himself up, brushing off his clothes. It does very little good. They're filthy. He's muttering and cursing these two guards under his breath. Stupid, fat-headed jerks.
So yeah, Eddard kind of walks up behind him, and he kind of pipes up a little bit. He says, "Are you sure you didn't see anybody?"
He's using his pitchfork that he's been using to kind of move hay and horse shit around. He has reared back and has plunged it into a nearby bag of feed in anger and frustration. He pulls it free, and just as he does so, that's when you've piped up. And he turns around, almost kind of thrusting it towards you out of just sheer reaction. Oh, you shouldn't sneak up on me. That's not nice.
Pardon, I was just overhearing your conversation with the guards. Are you sure you haven't seen anybody tonight?
Now I have 3 people.
Come on, kid. You know what I'm talking about.
Do I? It's kind of a wry smile.
Well, you could have lied to them, but you can't lie to me. And I thank you for keeping your mouth shut. And he gives him a gold piece.
His eyes go big as you hand him the coin. Well, I'll be damned. A whole gold piece. Thank you, sir. Do you need anything? He kind of tucks it into his tunic.
I'll be a little more honest with you than you were with them. A couple of friends of mine need a spot to lay low, if you don't mind.
He kind of reaches up and strokes his peach fuzz chin. Yeah. The loft's pretty comfy. It's quiet, dry for the most part. You have to stay away from the front wall. I think if there's 3 of you, maybe 2 more gold pieces would be enough to stay the night if you'd like.
Eddard kind of gives him a little smirk off the side. He gives him 2 more. He says, "You know what? Forget you ever saw me." And he winks at him and leaves.
Already forgotten. He smiles and tucks the other 2. This kid is like 8. he tucks the other 2 gold pieces in, and starts going about his work with the pitchfork again, much merrily, much more merrily than he was before, whistling to himself.
And as he walks out of the stable, he kind of just talks out loud to himself. I think I've just been swindled. He makes his way back to Ariana.
So once you've reunited with Tord, the 3 of you are able to enter the stables and make your way to the loft if you wish, where you'll find dry but maybe questionably clean, semi-clean hay that you could lay in if you wish.
Well, it's something, but I think we have more pressing issues. You can always come back here.
I think we should lay low. Wait for a sign from Jonathan. A Dane.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree with him. We need to lie low.
Well, I
Listen
can
to
only
that.
expect you to be rational sometimes.
Oh, don't go starting that again.
All right. I won't. But answer me this. How long have they been gone?
It's probably been 3 or 4 hours at this point, at least.
I don't suppose there is much more to do than wait. I certainly don't know where to find them.
So wait, you do. Meanwhile, back in the keep, Sir John and Dane have now found their way back through the bowels of the castle and have exited the way that they came in, I'm assuming.
Could I actually spend an inspiration point to stop by the armory first?
Sure, yeah. There's probably going to be guards there.
That's a good point.
That's
Maybe
so.
I'm looking for a suit of half-plate armor. I don't think it would be in my room, because if it is, I would have taken it with me. And like, if there's a family armory, it's probably even under heavier guard than the normal armory. So maybe I don't have access to it after all.
It might be something that is, supposed to be, made for you.
Yeah.
At some point in your, coming of age, or, if you win your first tournament, or, something like that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Maybe it's being crafted, but it hasn't been given to you yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes good sense. So, yeah, we escape out into the streets, and I feel like we would have had to have set up a rendezvous point with them, but I kind of like the idea that it wasn't this stable.
Well, you guys knew where we were at. We were at the alleyway.
Oh, that's right.
I imagine the stable was at least on the way to there.
I'm pretty sure our rendezvous point was the alley.
Right, it was. We had all met there before, except you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we get to the alley and we see a pool of blood where Sir Vord used to be, and footsteps. It was a mighty duel, and I think that's probably about it. And I look at Dane and I'm like, the plan has gone awry already.
Well,
Would we have not seen them when they crossed through going towards the alley if we were waiting in the stables, like keeping a lookout?
Let's see.
Is that a bit of a stretch?
We'll see. What the dice say? Okay. No. Apparently, they either took a different route or the stables is not directly on the way between the two.
Gotcha.
So I've been carrying this sword for a little while, and it's called the Talon of Foresight. What do I know about the legend of this sword, or like any qualities that it may have?
Okay. So I'm just going to tell you in meta terms here. The Talon of Foresight is a longsword +2.
Mm-hmm.
The family sword of House Lightnor. Its grip is wrapped in black leather and gold wiring. Symbols etched into the blade denote the motto of its house, while beautifully carved gold decorates the crosspiece and pommel. Beset in each of these features are brilliant topaz gems. The sword requires attunement. It grants a +2 to attack and damage rolls made with this weapon. In addition, while this sword is attuned and visibly worn, its wielder benefits from a +2 to their wisdom score and is considered proficient with insight checks.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, I think I've been carrying this sword, and I know that it's supposed to give people a wonderful presence of mind. I know that it's like a clarifying thing, but it's not really working for me right now. It feels remarkably like a normal longsword, and it feels like I'm missing something important. And so I think sort of just pushing that to the side, I want to see if I can just suss out from all the footsteps on the ground here what happened and where people went. And at the same time, I'm like, Dane, look around, see if you can find tracks that look like an orc and an elf and a human.
So Dane looks at the copious amounts of tracks in this muddy alley that a bunch of people come to do bad things and enter buildings, and then looks back at you like just sort of exasperated, like hands spread at all the muddy footprints. And
I know that, Dane, but just look. We need to find out where they are.
we're in the back alley. What are the buildings that are near it? One seemed like it might have been maybe like a tavern or something, or at least a brothel, perhaps. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, some kind of,
Lower end.
seedy den.
So, so John, I need a couple of coins.
Coins?
Silver, gold, I don't care.
Yes, fine. I just fish out like 5 or 6 gold coins and give them to you.
I slip into the brothel, like the seedy joint. And I'm going to look around for the most unobtrusive person in the room. That young guy who is homely and crooked backed and sweeping the floors over in a corner, that people bump into him but treat him like a piece of furniture. I'm looking for that quality of a person. And perhaps I do, like in the corner, I see this gnarled individual, not of age, but of that sort of malnutrition and just birth unfairness and So I will slide that direction as well, and hey, and I'll repeat it again because he's not used to being spoken to.
Yeah, when you first address him, he makes his best attempt to like melt back against the wall, kind of bringing the broom kind of up to his
Right.
chest. And he realizes you're not walking past and that he wasn't in your way. When you address him a second time, he now kind of turns his head towards you, though his eyes are still cast down towards the floor.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
Not sir, not sir. I don't sleep in a bed fluffy enough, and I don't eat meals warm enough to be sir. But hey, I know something happened in the alley behind, and I know people like us, the people that no one respects, but well, we do our jobs, right? And we do them good. And no one ever says thank you, but we hear things. I was hoping you could tell me, and I'll kind of like thumb one of these gold coins out. I was hoping you could tell me maybe what happened.
He kind of looks, his eyes kind of rising to the coin in your hand, and then almost shrinks kind of back again, almost like he doesn't want to even reach for it.
So I'll like make a motion, like I'm going to like straighten my boots or something, and I'll let it roll on the floor towards his broom that he's been sweeping with.
He kind of gingerly takes the broom and like puts it out and like sweeps the coin closer to his boot, and then just kind of shifts his toe over it.
Lucky find.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We hear things, yes, and there was a man killed just an hour ago, maybe a night.
Night. Did they say who did it? Or what caused it?
No, but they didn't have to. I saw it. I saw it myself. I did.
Well, don't leave me hanging.
It was an orc, sir.
No.
He gutted him like a pig. He did. And then he drank his blood. He lapped it up.
Orcs do that. Well,
The orc wasn't alone, sir.
orcs don't have friends.
There were two others, and they weren't orcs.
Oh. Huh.
One of them was an elf. Whiter than the moon she was.
Let's tell you. You let the knights of the House Lightnor leave for a few days, and these mellowing people come in here, and everything just goes to shit. Elves and orcs in town. Wasn't like that when the Lightnors were here.
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, I got a rumor for you, but I think it's true. I think, from what I hear, the son of the Baron is back in town. You heard that, right?
Sir John. Yes. I heard he was here.
He's going to challenge that Mellowayne fella to a duel
Duel.
tonight,
Tonight.
in a few hours.
Oh. I have to work until the morning.
No, you don't. And I kind of roll another gold piece across to him.
He kind of quicker this time sticks the broom out and kind of sweeps it under the same foot.
But, I mean, if I were you, and basically I am, I wouldn't want to miss that. Sir John needs someone cheering for him. Especially if there's an orc in the darkness somewhere.
You mean me?
I mean us. I mean the backbone of Kerwal. The people that shovel shit and polish shoes and don't get a thanks for it. Not those people who sit at big wooden tables on chairs and eat hot meals. I mean the scraps. The ones that sew clothes together and suck on bones. We're the real people of Kerwal, aren't we? People like you.
I suppose.
And there's lots of us. Every building around, every business, every inn, every brothel. That's the heartbeat of Kerwal. The legends, the stories are just the fancy people at the table. But you and me, we got to be around to tell them. I'm going to go watch it. And I'm going to tell everyone I find that they should come watch it. They need us. They wouldn't be knights if it wasn't for us.
So you've given me 2 gold pieces. You have my word. I'll do whatever you need me to do.
Find everyone you can. Everyone who's ever shoveled shit or sewn a hymn, scrubbed a pot, and you tell them in 2 hours' time in the courtyard of that castle, it's going to be a fight for Kerwal, and it's going to be one hell of a story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna roll that 3rd gold piece across.
He bends down this time and scoops up all 3 of them and kind of looks down at them in his hand. For Kerwal.
For Vykaril. And I'm gonna slip myself back out the door.
And he turns and shuffles away, kind of like haphazardly pretending to.
So once I get back outside, I sort of almost storm over to Sir John. Well, Tord killed our spy.
Good riddance to him. He was a miserable man.
I promised him to your dad.
My father will forgive you. Do you know where they are?
Forgive me is to forgive Tord, and that's some doing.
I will account for it. Do you know where they went?
They ran off about an hour ago.
Ugh.
So they've gone somewhere that they're not going to be bothered. Probably towards the edge of town.
Did you find out which way they ran?
Well, I look back in the alley direction back towards the busy main street. Probably not that way.
Well, the other direction then. Perhaps we shall run into them on the way.
Also, I need you to be ready for a duel in about 2 hours.
Sir Lightner is going to duel Sir Volchester in the courtyard of the castle in 2 hours.
So John actually chuckles. It's a very dark laugh, but it's a laugh, and he claps Dane on the shoulder and he says, "As if I wasn't preparing already, my young squire. Come."
So I would imagine that maybe not being decried, but that same sort of message rapidly is being murmured and said, and as it's just sort of waves, because at this point even guards are going to be saying it, right? So down the alley and trying to figure out what direction we might go find our missing companions.
And
So
as
assume we came in on a main street, right? So if we arguably call it north-south and this alley runs east-west then. So if we're running like westerly, when we hit the end of it, if we turn back south, we would be going back towards the edge of town again rather than deeper into town, correct?
yeah, that makes good sense.
So then I think that would be the way that I would try and circle. 'Cause I don't see Ariana Shill being incompetent enough to run deeper into town when trying to evade toward maybe. But he's brash.
And as this call is kind of going up and spreading through the streets of Kerwal like wildfire, we head back to the stables where the other three are waiting. You hear the doors to the stable, one of them fly open, and someone storms into the lower floor of the stable. Did you hear? It's another young boy, roughly the same age as the stable hand. And they begin talking excitedly about a duel that is supposed to take place very, very soon between Sir Gerhard Volchester and Sir John Lightnor in the courtyard of the Keep of Kerwal. The exchange goes on for a moment, and the two boys leave in a hurry.
Ari turns to Eddard. I guess we know where they're going to be in a couple of hours.
My thoughts exactly. Should we head there now, or should we wait?
I want to be lost in the crowd. So,
I tell you what, I have just a bit of magic left. If you and Tord would like to remain unnoticed, I could perhaps disguise you as simple common folk.
I think whatever we do, we should be careful. Even with magic, I kind of stick out like a pain in the ass.
You are a large one.
do what you can.
All right. So you make whatever preparations that you wish to employ, and make your way towards the courtyard. A crowd is already growing. There's a lot of Volchester guards around, but their attention is on the crowd and what is about to unfold. Excuse me. And so you're able to basically get as close to this courtyard as you wish, without really being detected.
Yeah, I go and pretty much cloak up, just trying to keep a low profile.
Okay. And Dane and Sir John, are you guys at this courtyard? Are you standing out in the open.
So I would imagine that after maybe 20, 30 minutes of following just hundreds of feet print in these muddy streets and really not bumping into or finding anywhere that Ariana's shown toward Edidar, that I would have urged Sir John to head towards the courtyard, and perhaps we find a building just on the edge of it that sort of like that boxer's corner, right, where he can sit for a moment, and I can, fetch him some water. I won't tell him it came from a horse trough, but and just give him some time to do what he needs to do. And Dane will very dutifully fall back into actual squire duties, right? Like he'll clean the shoes and cinch the armor and make sure that everything's ready to go.
Yeah, Sir John will take that opportunity to be squired for a little while, and he mostly is finding some time to sit on a stool or whatever and lay this sword across his lap and just get used to it for a little while. He sits here and he looks at it. He hefts it in his hands. He examines the geometry of the blade. He tests the grip out in his hands. He stands up and he does a few drills with it to really get to know the sword. He's primarily a halberd fighter, but this is the sword of his family. He has to wield it in this battle, and he needs to be well familiar with its balance and its use before he gets into this fight.
So you have prepared yourself. There's onlookers gathered all around you. Several of them are shouting to you. Most of them are content with whispering and murmuring amongst themselves. And after a moment, there is kind of a commotion, kind of on the other side of this gathered crowd, and you can hear people pushing their way through the throng of people, and you can see several of the Volchester guards kind of surrounding Sir Gerhardt. And as they kind of break the inner ring of this gathered group, Gerhardt eyes you, Sir John, and narrows his gaze in your direction. I didn't think you would be foolish enough to come back here.
I didn't think you'd be brazen enough to make the move you have.
The move I've made, it's given to me. I earned it. House Mellowin has seen fit to place me on this throne and put the crown of the barony upon my head. Maybe that's because my head doesn't belong on a pike. Arrest him.
They do not realize how unwilling you are to bear, how unready and unworthy you are of bearing the crown of Kerwall.
The guards have started making their way across the circle, kind of splitting apart into two flanks and kind of making their way towards you.
So Dane will kind of brush past Sir John and out into the open. The Baron Nicholas Lightnor is alive and well, and as such, Sir Volchester at the moment is but a knight. Sir John Lightnor, another knight, has issued a claim to a duel of honor and title. He cannot be arrested for this. Sir Volchester, would you turn down the honor? Would you rescind your claim to the right to be here? because you choose to have him arrested rather than fight an honorable fight among knights. The people of Kerwal would like this question answered as they've all gathered around you. They stare, looking onward to their future, be it in that realm or this one.
There's kind of a rise in the muttering of the crowd in agreement with you, Dane. Volchester points his gauntleted hand towards you. This boy is a practicer of black magic, and he weaves lies as easily as he does his spells. The two of them have gone to the White Witch. They've brought back her magics, no doubt, to save the Baron. May he live and reign long, but at what price? Now, Kerwal will be ruled by a puppet that serves a witch. This man, he points towards Sir John, has no honor. He protects witches, killed a Justicar. Then he comes here and claims to be the son of Kerwal that he's always been. He wants to take his rightful place. The Lightnors are not fit to lead. Not with this pup as an heir to the throne.
Then if that is to be true, you will have no problem proving that in combat.
So
The
John
question
turns
still
to the crowd.
stands. Do you choose to accept this duel, or will you slink back to the shadows? I, for one, know what the people, the backbone, the soul, the children of Kerwal want to see. But you wouldn't know that. You don't know the people. You trod on them as dirt beneath your feet. Body behind you. Old men. Honorable knights. Laid low because what? You have a temper. Then bring that temper to bear. And let's see which one of you truly deserves to be here. Do you?
By the laws of our land, a criminal knight holds no right to issue challenge. But I will gladly consider it my duty to cut him down. He pulls his helmet from beneath the crook of his arm and fixes it onto his head, lowering the visor into place.
So John does the same.
You die here in the mud of your own home. I will bury you here. And every day I will trod upon your grave.
Sir John raises his sword and says nothing.
Sir Volchester's squire brings the scabbard of his two-handed greatsword to him, which he draws with an elaborate shing. This thing is almost entirely black. Even the metal of the blade itself is more gunmetal than it is steel in color. And at that moment, there's a shout. Stop! Stop this madness! Stop! You look up to see your father stumbling his way through the crowd. He breaks through and enters the circle. I am the Baron of Cornwall. This is not necessary. My rule is intact. Whatever it is that House Mellowing needs in service of the coming conflict with House Latherbrun, I will gladly give it. Sir Gerhardt, this is not necessary. Stand down. Gerhardt doesn't move. He then turns towards you, John. John, I'm begging you. Do not do this.
Sir John looks at his father. And he says, his talons sharp, his wits are keen, his mark here soon will lay. Talons grasp you in between, the eagle hunts his prey.
A shout goes up from Sir Gerhardt as he lunges forward, bringing his greatsword up in a high guard before striking downwards, kind of stepping around your father and striking at you, John. Ooh, that was almost really, really bad. Let's see. What is your AC?
16.
He hit with a 17.
Okay.
Okay. His second swing. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. So the first one manages just barely to come down on your armor hard enough to more bruise you than anything. But you're going to take 8 points of slashing damage from the first strike.
Okay.
However, the weight behind this blow is considerable. This guy is incredibly strong. And the second swing catches you completely off guard. And it cuts deep. And it's going to deal 32 points of slashing damage.
Wow. Okay.
It probably almost like, I imagine it like cuts your thigh muscle like to the bone.
Yeah.
He takes this like a half step back, kind of coming back into a guard. There's blood that kind of flings out, kind of mixing with these drops of rain as they're falling. And then it begins to kind of mix on the ground in the mud. I told you. It is your turn.
So first of all, bonus action to get a second wind, so I have more than 12 hit points. That's going to be a 9 total. So I have 23. And now, let's see here. Maneuvers are a bonus action as well, aren't they?
They each have like a specific cost to them.
Okay. Reaction. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make a thrust right to the neck at Sir Volchester. As soon as he comes back and he says, I told you, he doesn't have time to get anything else out because this blade comes right up for the gap between helmet and gorget. And I'm going to use Precision Strike. So that is a bonus D8 superiority die for me. And this is a weapon attack against him. So that's a 16 to hit. No, I'm sorry, a 17 to hit. I forgot to add the superiority die.
Unfortunately, it clangs against the steel of his plate armor.
Did you add the +2 for the sword?
I did.
Oh.
Can I spend an inspiration after the fact, or do I have to wait?
Technically, you're supposed to spend it before you know you missed. But
Okay.
in this situation, given the situation of kind of the narrative, I'm cool with it.
Cool. All right. So that increases it to a 21, 22 instead.
Which will be enough to bypass his armor. His
Okay.
armor.
Cool. So D10 plus that is 10 damage against him total. And because I win, or because I hit him, my do what?
I was gonna say that's presumptuous.
Yeah, well, you know. So because I hit him, I get a bonus attack with the halberd. Or damn it, no, I'm using my longsword. Never mind. Yeah, so that's the first strike against him. Second strike is going to be another longsword. I've slashed up and kind of like got right in between his helmet and gorget. And then what I'm going to do is just flick the sword blade and really bash him in the side of the neck to knock him off to the side. Uh, 24 to hit. And let's see here.
Yes.
That is 12 damage this time.
All right. Both of your attacks have found their mark. Drawn blood of the Black Boar Knight. He seems phased only a little. You can see this man has been in these kinds of fights before. He does not seem concerned. As you have finished your volley against him, he takes his attacks, once again bringing his greatsword around towards you. You said you have a 17?
16.
16. Okay, the first one hits. Cast just a second.
It's been a good run, Sir John.
Okay. Minimum damage on the first one for 7 points of slashing.
Okay.
The second is 14 points of slashing.
All right. Not dead yet.
He cuts twice more with these large, arcing, powerful swings. And it's almost like your armor is just not equipped to deal with the kinds of blows that this man is capable of dealing. It is your turn.
Yeah, so I'm here with my longsword and with chainmail and like a helmet. I'm definitely not this guy's equal in terms of gear. But again, I'm going to attack this dude, and this first attack, I'm actually going to spend another inspiration to roll with advantage from the beginning. And that is, fuck, I got a 6 on both of them. 15 to hit. No, I'm going to do another precision strike. And so it is going to be 17 to hit.
Unfortunately, that is only going to clang off of his plate armor.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. Second attack, no advantage here, but still rolling all the same. Another precision die. That's going to be 21 to hit.
That will hit.
All right, so that's a 10, so 16 damage total. And then I want to use my action surge to take a bonus action in this round. And I'm going to make that another attack. So that's 24 to hit. And I rolled a 1, but I have the great weapon fighting special ability, which means I reroll 1s and 2s.
Okay.
So that's a 2. But I have to take the second result. So it's going to be 8 damage total.
Okay. He has been cut. His blood now also mingling with the mud.
Karen makes a good point. If I use action surge, I get an additional action, 1 bonus action. And if I have extra attack, does that mean I get a second attack as well?
So yeah, extra attack is every time you take the attack action, you get to attack twice.
Okay. And
so action surge doesn't take your bonus action. It is kind of a supplemental part of your turn.
Okay.
Which gives you another action to take. So if you choose to take it as an attack action, you can attack twice.
Cool. Then I will roll a 4th time as well. And let's see here. 16. So that's 25 to hit.
Yes.
And 9 damage.
He has, once again, he's been cut. His blood now mingles with the mud and the rain and with yours. He has staggered a half step to the side under the rapid fire attacks that you have made with the talent of foresight. But he rounds on you, still pressing his advantage with this blade, this long blade of his.
Jeremy, I'm going to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And with the moonlight being sort of on this rainy ground, it being rainy, these two guys going at it, and hopefully no one paying a whole lot of attention to me. And I'll take the wrath from Sir John later about this, but you take back 11 hit points. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's for the best. Okay.
Do me a favor, Dane.
Yeah.
Roll me either a sleight of hand or a stealth. You can have advantage because nobody is paying attention to you right now.
Thank goodness. Okay, so a 4 on the first one, a 15 on the second one, so a total of 19.
Okay. You managed to do so without gaining the attention of anyone except for probably Sir John.
Right. I imagine he feels that sort of like little bit of mending that happens.
Absolutely. When Sir Gerhardt swings his first attack this time, the stumble that he took to the side caused his swing to be off the distance, and the tip of his sword does little more than parts the mud kind of at your feet, Sir John, as he misses entirely.
Okay, I'm going to use my final superiority die to do a riposte.
Excellent. Okay.
And I'm going to use an inspiration to make this advantage. So let's see here.
I'm going to give you a bardic inspiration die. I'm just going to shout something out above the crowd.
Okay. That's a D6 for me. Is that right?
I think he's still at a D6. Wait, I see a finger.
D8.
Oh, it's a D8.
Okay,
Excellent.
cool. All right, so actually I need one more D8 here then. All right. So, let's see. My 15 on the die plus 4 for bardic inspiration is 19 plus 9, 28. And then damage is 15 plus 8 for my superiority die is 23.
You strike him. I imagine kind of probably up like the side of the head. Kind of, you hear the clang of his helmet ring as you kind of brought the sword up and gave him an incredibly resounding thud, paying for the miss.
And it's actually the case that like he struck at me and he didn't just flat out miss me. I actually caught his blade before it could come down to me, and with the same motion that I caught his blade, I also like shoved my blade toward his neck again.
Awesome. His second swing is only a 14, so this glances off of your armor, missing you. He seems like he is starting to slow a little. He's definitely not approaching this with the same vigor that he was before.
Yeah, so 2 more attacks for me. I'm going to roll both of them at once here. So the first one is 17 to hit.
There's a miss.
Okay, second one is 20 to hit.
That is a hit.
All right, so the first one, I think, just bounces off of his plate mail, and this is sort of a familiar thing to John at this point, so he's just kind of following the rhythm of it. He's using it as an opportunity to build momentum for a second strike. His second strike, he actually sidesteps around Sir Volchester and slashes down around his ankle to trip him up there, and gets 16 damage there.
He, again, is taking these blows. These sword swipes would certainly have felled a lesser opponent. This man is, his reputation is incredibly well earned as a champion of House Mellowing. Again, House Mellowing is a military house. They are used to fighting, skirmishes, campaigns, and Sir Gerhardt has earned a reputation amongst such a house as being perhaps their fiercest warrior. As staggered as he has been from these blows, he continues to try to answer in kind and will swing twice more at you, hitting with his first and with his second.
Ah, bummer. Okay.
His first is 10 points of slashing damage.
Okay.
His second is 13.
Yep. I'm at -10.
You can only go to 0.
Okay. Well, I'm at 0.
He is winded, staggering. He brings his blade across your chest once, and as you do, your arms go backwards in reflex, and he brings the blade across the other direction, sending you spinning into the mud. You're not dead, but the fight has been taken out of you. And there, sprawled in the mud, in the rain of your hometown of Kerwell, the keep looming out of the dark night nearby, you see another dark shape approach from the other side. Sir Gerhardt Volchester, the Black Boar Knight, looms over you. He raises his great sword above his head with both hands. The point of the sword pointed directly downward at the chest of Sir John Lightnor. Suddenly, a sword point pierces, not the chest of Sir John, but instead the chest of Sir Volchester. As we turn to see the look of surprise upon the Blackboar Knight's face, his visor thrown open, as he looks down to see the bloody point of a sword sticking out of his sternum. Panning to the side, we can see at the other end of this weapon is Baron Nicholas Lightnor, having thrust this weapon through the knight and ending his life. Sir Volchester collapses into the mud beside Sir John. And as we pull away from the events that happened outside of the keep of Kerwell, we see two knights laid low. And this is where we're going to stop for the evening. So, thank you very, very much. Anyone who has tuned in this evening for watching, thank you very much if you are watching in the future. And of course, deepest sincerity in thanking the five of you players for once again making this an unforgettable session in an unforgettable campaign. So I'm going to toss it over to you so that you can plug what you'd like, and we'll call it a night. So first up, Steve.
So Excellent session as always, Jeremy. There was some very epic storytelling. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this again tomorrow rather than waiting a month, right? Because I kind of need to figure out what's going on. But no, it was there were some really great scenes, and I truly appreciate being able to be part of this. So thank you all, and I look forward to the next session.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you for bringing your A game every single time, man. Again, the five of you are what hold this game up and make it what it is. So I thank each and every one of you for being a part of it. Next up, we have Eli.
Yeah, everybody, I'm Eli Kurtz. This was a heck of a session. One of these days, Sir John is going to realize he's just going to stop expecting to win. All the evidence points in the other direction. It was a great game, Jeremy. Thanks so much. And I'm kind of dead to the world at this point, so I don't have a whole lot more to say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think Sir John's day is coming. He just needs to be a little more careful about who he chooses as his opponents, maybe.
He needs to stop being a big dummy.
No, man. Again, it's a lot of fun to watch what you have done with Sir John so far, especially over these last few sessions. I'm really excited for how his story arc has kind of gone, and what it's going to kind of mean now that this development has happened going forward. It'll be really interesting, I think. I hope. Next up, we have Baron. Do we have Baron? Maybe not.
Might be asleep.
He might be. It happens. We're going to go with that. If he rouses before we get finished with this, then we'll let him do his outro. Next up, we've got Josh.
Hey guys, my name's Josh. YouTube Roll the Bones, Twitter Roll the Bones TV. This here is what I like to call a very humbling session, because it's one of those times that everything kind of gets put into perspective for the heroes of the story. Thanks again, everybody, for coming together for this. Thanks, Jeremy, for hosting it. It's always a pleasure playing with you guys. It's going to be interesting to see how this, like Jeremy said, changes the arc as a whole. Not only for Sir John's character, but for the kingdom as a whole, really. Things are about to go down.
It should certainly prove to be an interesting development, if nothing else. Okay, last but certainly not least, Karen.
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. There's a lot to process in this episode, and it's going to take some time to just go through it all. And there was some amazing role play tonight. It was fabulous. I enjoyed being kind of a part of it. Just but with watching everything that's going down and Sir John's story that's happening right now. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this is going to go and what the Baron's last action is going to mean for everybody. So yeah, pretty excited.
Me too. All right, one last time. Baron, are you with us? Or have we lulled you to a nice, quiet slumber? All right. So, yes, anybody who mentioned a channel, you should be able to find the links for those channels in the description of this video down below. Please go and check out their channels. Their content is fantastic. I've had the chance to play with each of these individuals outside of this game. I don't think I have played under a few of them yet, but I hope to one day very soon. So, until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.